My name's David Caldwell, and with almost 2 decades of experience in the Portland metro area real estate market and a passion for data-driven insights, I'm here to bring you the latest trends, advice, and stories from the world of real estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or just love staying informed about the market, this podcast is your one-stop source for expert insights and personal perspectives. So let's dive in and ask the all-important question: how's the Portland real estate market?
Send on the house.
Hey everybody, my name is David Caldwell. I'm here with Jennifer Swinghammer. We are real estate brokers in the Portland metro area. We're with a company called Real Brokerage. Today we're going to talk about what's going on in the Portland housing market. We're going to look at February numbers. We're going to talk about mortgage rates. We're going to talk about what you might need to know if you're a buyer or seller. We'll try to give some historical context, but we'll try to have this be mostly fact, laced with a little bit of opinion. Does that sound good, Jen? Are we on track?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay. So my favorite thing to answer, I think the most popular question, how's the market? I think what people are alluding to is what is actually going on with home values. So let's start there. When we look at the last 12 months, big picture, zooming out, the average sales price has declined 1.5% from $609,200 to $600,000. And I think this is important to zoom out when we're looking at the housing market, because as much as month over month information matters, we are talking about a long-term asset. When we have a little bit of a decline in home values, that means buyers have most of the leverage. When we look year over year, what has happened with the average sales price? January and February 2023 versus January, February 2024, you actually see the median and the average sales price has increased 3%. But there's something important to note in there as well. It increased to $571,100 as an average, which is $29,000 less than the 12-month average. So we have been selling as an average in the Portland metro area in January and February less.
Somebody's at my front door. I'm so sorry.
Go. So while we wait for Jen to get back, if you're watching this while her dog's going crazy, I think, we have to look at market segments, right? If you're buying under the average sales price of an area, and let's call the average right now 571, or we could call it 600, or if you're in, a suburban area like Lake Oswego, it could be much higher. Whenever you're buying under the average sales price, it has a tendency to be a more competitive marketplace. If you're following other real estate professionals on Instagram or on YouTube right now, likely what you're seeing is a lot of this house had X offers, this house had X offers. Multiple offers exist in every market, good, bad, neutral, sideways. They exist. So in a lower price point, a more affordable price point with a good condition house, that's likely something that you're going to see. So see if Jen gets back here in a second. And if she doesn't, we'll move on and talk about new listings.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Here she is. Okay, so let's transition away from average sales price. And let's look really quick at what's going on with mortgage rates today, because that's going to impact some of the conversations we have around new listings, pending sales, closed listings. So Jen and I were just talking off camera. Interest rates have come down a little bit. Today, you're looking at like 6.85% as an average. Yesterday, we were just below 7%. A week ago, we were just above 7%. So let's just call it we're in that 7% mortgage range. Now, Jen, you were talking about like going to open houses, driving by open houses, holding open houses, that it feels like a lot of buyers have been on the sidelines. With these rates declining, are you anticipating seeing more people coming back into the market?
I do think so. I think that there's a lot of people that have just kind of been waiting to see and have also just kind of been priced out in the way where the rates have been. They maybe couldn't afford it, so they're waiting to see if they come down. And what they're seeing is maybe that prices aren't coming down to what people expected, I don't think. And so I think that people are like, okay, well, how much longer are we going to wait before we make this move, before we move forward?
Yeah. I think it's something that's like interesting to point out in that comment is everyone's waiting for pricing to come down. And if we look at the last 20 or 30 years in the Portland housing market, we've had 25 years of appreciation, with the average year being 5.6% appreciation over that 30-year period. Well, last year, the market did come down a little bit over 2% as an average. If you're used to getting almost 6% appreciation and then you dip 2%, that's a big shift and sway in the market, right? So I think you're right. Like people did kind of sit on the sidelines and wait to see what happens so they can feel like they have more certainty around the market. And we've talked about this all the time and we work together for a long time. People's plans generally don't change, they just get delayed. A normal year in our market, we usually have more than 30,000 home sales. Last year, we had just shy of 21,000. So all those 9,000 people that we usually see transact, they can't stay in place forever. They are going to do something. So, yeah, I agree with you. So let's talk new listings. Do you want to read the new listing highlight, Jen?
Yeah, new listings increased 18.2% from the 17,064 listed in February 2023 and increased 7.4% from the 19,004 for the 1,941 listed in January 2024.
Yeah, and I was going to say, little like there, we had 2,085 new listings come to the market, which is an uptick, right? What's important to know in that is that last year we had less than 22,000 sales. So we didn't have a humongous number of listings come to the market. But if we average 2,000 new listings a month, that would actually create a pretty tight market in the Portland metro area, I think. When we look at new listings, something that's really important to think about is that this was the second lowest number of new listings that have come to the market in January and February, dating back to 1992. Why is that important? Well, if you're a home seller and you have a really great house, you have like what I would consider saleable inventory. That's something I talk to clients about a lot. Our market is really missing that. So in spite of some of the challenges we'll talk about today, or maybe you've heard over the last 18 months in the Portland housing market, there is a lack of really good homes. Also, maybe if your house isn't perfect, there might be some things you can get it to that really saleable level that's going to create a multiple offer situation. Because while the market's moving slower than we're used to over the last decade, while buyers have had more negotiation power in the last 18 months than they've had in the last decade, we have a humongous shortage of great homes coming to the market. And that's where you hear these stories about multiple offer situations. The great properties really draw a crowd right now.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the lenders that I work with about this recently, actually. And we were talking about how we both have these mutual client buyers that we're working with. And we kind of been hearing the same thing where people are going and looking at inventory, they're looking at houses. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, I like it. But fewer and fewer we're hearing right now that I love it. I want this house. I love it. So the I love it houses, when they come to the market, they're definitely selling.
Yeah, I agree. And that's such a great observation and share. So let's move to pending sales, right? Pending sales are important if you're a buyer. Pending sales are important if you're a seller. It's competition. Like everything supply and demand in real estate, to me, pending sales is that leading indicator of how the market's moving. So we had 1,742 pending sales in February. Remember, we had almost 2,100 listings. So there's a little bit of a gap, not a humongous gap. That was an increase from February 2023, and it was an increase from January. But I think what's important to know is that when we look year over year, pending sales have decreased 6.9%. January and February 2023 versus 2024, pending sales are down. Why are they down? That's something we have to scratch our heads about. And I'll give you my theory, Jen, and you can either confirm or you can tell me I'm full of junk. Okay. What happened at the end of the year with mortgage rates? What happened with social media marketing? What happened with the average narrative of a lender? We're going to see 3 to 6 rate cuts. Rates are coming down. Rates are coming down. Rates are coming down. And then what happened? Nothing. Rates actually increased. Most of the year, we've seen a rate environment above 7% so far, or close to, which I believe has put some people on the sidelines. So I saw a CNBC headline today that mortgage demand is up 11%. And, that's nationwide. That doesn't necessarily mean that's up in Portland. But I do think there's been enough messaging now about rate cuts will happen sometime in the future. There's no certainty around it. We know they're not likely to go up. That now those people sitting on the sidelines, they're likely to re-enter. But I think we had a particularly slow January, February because people were waiting for cuts that were not promised. They were just suggestive.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think another thing that people might be thinking right now is like the rates came down below 7% is maybe there'll be rate cuts in the future. And I think that a lot of buyers, they're smart, they're savvy, they're in the market. They know kind of what's going on. They're at open houses. They see people coming in as well. And I think that there's a thought right now too that maybe they don't want to be in a more competitive market if it comes down the road. And so if the right house comes available right now, they're going to go for it instead of maybe waiting like they would have done.
Yeah, people will compete for the love house, using your language, but maybe not the like house. And I've been selling real estate long enough to know about multiple offer situations that don't go above asking price. Like that's how I used to feel like sometimes if we price something on the higher side and we got multiple offers and neither of them were even at our list price, man, it feels like we really maximize value there. But I mean, that's not something you see anymore because after the 2021 mindset, if it is a multiple offer situation, people just go, well, gosh, how much higher am I going to have to get to? But what if we get back to a marketplace that's like a normal marketplace where like people are discerning buyers and maybe even in a multiple offer situation, the people don't get asking price because it is just a like house, not a love, or there's work to be done.
Yeah.
So let's look at closed sales. Closed sales is my favorite thing to talk about. Although it is important when we like zoom out, the zoom out years, the closed sales is an important thing. But closed sales year to date have decreased 4.1% over the same time period last year. We had a particularly difficult January. So, year to date, we've had 2,433 closed sales. Now, I like to compare. So let's compare 2,433 closed sales to almost 2,100 new listings in January. This could create an issue for us if buyers continue to stay on the sidelines. When we talk about months of inventory, I had a lender text me that I should explain months of inventory the other day because people just look at months of inventory as like a good or bad indicator. But what's it really mean? It means the pace of the market, right? So right now we have 2.8 months of inventory. What's that mean? If no new homes came to the market, it'd take almost 3 months to sell all the homes on the market. Likely it would take longer because people are going to ignore some of the bad inventory, right? But let's use it for what it is. Average days on market today is 89 days. I think a lot of consumers look at a house that's been on the market for 30 days and go, what's wrong with it? Nothing. Months of inventory is the market speedometer, but in reverse. The lower the number, the faster the market's going. If we go back to 2021, or so let's just go 2022, January of 2022, 0.8 months of inventory, super fast, right? January of 2024, 3.2 months of inventory. I mean, I actually think if you sell a $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 asset in 90 days or less, feels pretty fast to me. Feels normal. Feels like a market. If I was a home buyer, I would want to participate in. If I'm a home seller, that's information I deserve to know. Because if it takes that long, that's how I'm going to set my expectations. Any comment on that, my friend Jennifer?
No, it just made me think about how I haven't been selling real estate nearly as long as you, David. But when I first started selling real estate, 70 days on the market was not that long. Nobody wondered what was wrong with the house at that point. We had a longer average days on market, and that was the normal. But when things happened in 2020 and 2021, it was like that all seemed to just go down so quickly, and the days on market just became so minimal that now that new mindset is after 30 days, what is wrong? And it really usually is nothing.
Nothing. We call it recency bias, call it like the effects of Amazon Prime, right? Like I barely go to the grocery store anymore. I'm just like, oh, my kids need Nutella. Nutella, I'll get it in my shipment on Friday, right? On my Prime Day. Oh, I get $1.50 off. Now I could rent a movie. Like it's still really fast when you think about it. So let's just shift with all this information, right? Let's put ourselves in an advisory role, because that's what we do for a living. We're real estate advisors. What do buyers need to know now? Like if you had to give any advice to a home buyer, and let's just talk about maybe someone they've been searching online, they're kind of in that starting the process, I'm looking range. What advice do we give them?
The advice that I always give when I meet new buyers is get your plan ready. So, by that I mean get all your professional team in line, talk to the lender, figure out where you want to be financially, figure out what you're qualifying for, understand that piece of it, talk to your realtor. And then when homes pop up that you see online, go look at them. That's one of the biggest things that I always say. It's go look at them, because you don't necessarily know until you go there. And then the more that you're going to go and look at these houses, the more confident you're going to feel when the right one really does go pop up and you go into it and you're like, yes. And then you'll be ready, and you won't have to try to get everything together last minute and feel scrambled or anything. You've already got your plan laid out. You know what to do, and you're ready to go and move forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just talked to a buyer the other day that was referred to me. And I'm like, look, when we first started looking at houses, it has nothing to do with buying one. It has everything to do about learning the process, learning what you want. What do you think you need to have in a house? When we go and actually look, it might be different. Hey, by the way, I want to look at good houses and bad houses with you, because I need to know what you like. While we go through the market, we're going to talk about what's happening. Why did that house that seemingly sucks sell so fast? Why is this house that seems so awesome, why is it still sitting on the market? When you're going to spend 3, 4, 5, 600, 700,000, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million on something, and the average person lives in their home for 10 years, you really deserve and need to know what it is you're purchasing.
Yep.
So I'm with you. Let's shift to sellers, because you could have two experiences as a seller in 2024. Fast multiple offers, awesome, or sit around and wait, discouragement. So what advice would we give to sellers?
I think when it comes to sellers, I'm telling my sellers right now, let's be prepared for both. And when we come to the market, we're going to come to the market strong, right? All the things that need to be done before we come to the market. Not like, oh, let's see how it goes and then do the things that maybe we had talked about, whether it's, like moving some things out, making spaces look more open. And then the biggest thing right now, I think, is pricing appropriately. I think that there's some listings that I've seen out there that I feel like if they were maybe priced more appropriately, they would have been pending and sold already.
Yeah, I agree. I met with a couple sellers yesterday that tried to sell their home last year and failed to do so. And, one of the things I started the conversation out with is you guys need to recognize that you're trying to sell your home in the most challenging market for sellers in a decade. It doesn't mean there aren't opportunities for sellers. But when we're used to selling 30,000 homes and now we're selling 21,000 homes, we have to recognize that there's a particular challenge in the market. When people in our area are used to having a $2,000 to $2,500 mortgage payment, and now they have a $4,000 mortgage payment on the average price home, as a seller, you have to recognize that there's a challenge. It doesn't mean that challenge can't be overcome, but you overcome it with preparation, with great photography, with great representation, yes, with being able to articulate what's happening with the market or why days on market might be a little bit higher, or positioning yourself, to your point, with pricing to try to drive that demand, to get a multiple offer situation, because maybe you are that really special property and we want this eBay effect, this mentality of competitive bidding, to overtake rational thought around pricing. So I totally agree with you, Jen. So, hey, I'm a home buyer, I'm a home seller, and I'm like, man, I like this Jen gal. Even though her dog was barking in the beginning of the video,
She was
I want to
saying
call her
hello.
on
She was saying
I
hello.
want to call her on the phone and talk to her about real estate and hope her dog barks. How do people get in touch with you, Jen?
You get in touch with me. You can Jennifer at HillshireRealtyGroup.com. I think that that's the best way to do
Perfect.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you guys want to get in touch with me, David at HillshireRealtyGroup.com. If you like this video, if you have questions about your particular home situation, because we do recognize that it's unique, just message us, leave us a comment below. We'd love to get back to you, see if we can help be a part of your puzzle that is buying and selling real estate. Until next time, bye bye.
Bye.